Next question is from Ali Dago 619. If Mayweather fights Triple G at 154, who do you think has the advantage going into the fight? And kind of like I was saying before, it's not really a fight that to me is realistic because you have two guys who are drastically different in weight. So you're going to have built in excuses if Triple G were to lose that fight. And again, I can't really gauge who has an advantage going into the fight because I haven't seen Triple G fight at 154. All of his recent fights, he's been bulldozing and running through people at 160. He's 33 years old. At this point, the older you get, the harder it is for your body to cut weight. Look at Oscar De La Hoya late in his career versus Pacquiao. That was one of his shittiest performances. And you have to factor in your age, the amount of wars you've been through, your style, and then just your, you know what I mean, your heredity, your genetics. Sometimes it's harder for, it may not seem like a lot, but I've seen guys like, I think it was Mikey Garcia came in overweight and lost his title, and he all he had to lose was maybe 1 or 2 pounds or whatever it was, and he was throwing up and he couldn't do it. Like, this dude couldn't lose 2 more extra pounds without being weak and feeble and killing himself. Like, a lot of people, they look at a number on a scale and they're like, oh, Triple G can make 154 easy. And it's not always as easy as you think. And not even just making the weight, but comfortably making the weight to the point where you look like you did at 160. You're still the same vicious fighter. You're not lethargic. You're not dehydrated. These are different things. So to me, I don't know why people are so fixated on Triple G versus Mayweather. I personally don't see it happening. And again, if it were to happen, it's just so easy of an excuse if Triple G were to lose. He lost because he came down to a division that we don't know. Just because a person says they can make a weight doesn't mean that they can. Like me, I weigh probably right now 235, 237. So that's like me saying, oh, I can get down to 210. Maybe I can, maybe I can't, but it's how am I going to perform if I drop that much weight in a short period of time? So again, I think people, they want to see Mayweather tested. Triple G's bulldozing people, so therefore they naturally match up the people. But I think people are investing too much stock in this because I don't think this fight will happen because it's not really realistic. Mayweather's already fought bigger guys like Canelo, Victor Ortiz, and people keep pushing the envelope. Oh, fight Maidana at 168. Okay, now fight Triple G at 170, 175, or whatever he rehydrates to on average. So it's really not a realistic fight in my opinion. They're in different divisions, and Mayweather's kind of at the end of his career. He already beat the challenge that people said could beat him for the last 5 years in Manny Pacquiao, and he did it convincingly. So I think people just constantly try to up the ante. Like, okay, you did Pacquiao. Now see if you could do this to Triple G. They're gonna keep pushing the envelope. And if he got past Triple G, then they're gonna go like, oh, fight Kovalev or Klitschko. So that's my personal opinion. Next question is from Pete Long. Do you think Triple G is a great white hope, even though he isn't white? I have noticed a lot of double standards between him and Mayweather. He fights a guy like Monroe, in which he is a 100-to-1 favorite in the UK, dominates, and people praise him like crazy. Whereas guys like Mayweather get shitted on for making Pacquiao, who is pound for pound #2 on a lot of people's lists, look like a C-class fighter. People entertain the idea of a 38-year-old who started his career as a super featherweight, moving up 2 more divisions to fight a natural 160-pounder, but at the same time don't want this 160-pounder to move to 168. You know, if him and Floyd were ever to fight, I can see the excuses now. Triple G was weight drained. Triple G was a hype job. His best wins. Murray, Gill, Mayweather was on Peds. I've also noticed the races slowly coming out. Now, that's a great, strong reply, and kind of like I was answering in my last question, there are tons of double standards in boxing. Canelo can say he's the action fighter. He's the guy knocking out guys like James Kirkland. He's young. He's 24 years old. He's the nasty inside fight game that goes for the gusto, right? This is the style that though like the people who push the Gotti list they want. Yet they want the boring style in Floyd Mayweather, the running style to face Triple G. Meanwhile, Oscar De La Hoya, Canelo's promoter, can say we're gonna wait 2 years for a Triple G fight. We're going to let it build. But Floyd Mayweather at age 38, even though he's proven his worth for the last 18, 19 years, he has to fight this big monster from Kazakhstan who's clearly much bigger than him and stuff. So you know the double standards are there. It's just my job to be realistic and then keep pointing them out. The double standards are there. I think Triple G, see, this is the thing. Triple G has a great style. I like Triple G as a fighter. I always have since he came in the gates. But with that being said, his style appeals to people who aren't really boxing fans. They don't know. They don't even know who. Like, ask them what happened in the Ishida fight with Triple G, and they probably couldn't even tell you. And that was one of his best knockouts. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing with it. Opens the floodgates when you have the style like Canelo or the style like Triple G, because it is entertaining. It is exciting. So it's you know what I mean? You don't have to be an expert to appreciate their styles. You know what I mean? Because it's a lot of action. It's no technical breakdown and stuff. It's just in your face action. And with that comes double standards, because you got a lot of casual fans who don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They never followed Canelo's career. They never followed Triple G or Mayweather's career. They just repeat and recycle the rhetoric that they hear. That's the difference. So the double standards are there, and it's mostly because people don't know what they're talking about. They don't know. You know what I mean? How can you condemn a guy like Mayweather for anything at this point? He fought all the tests that people said could beat him. Canelo, Diego Corrales. He beat guys like Oscar De La Hoya. Maidana was supposed to be too big and powerful and going to knock him out. People said, oh, this is Roy Jones versus Tarver Part 2. Mayweather's getting knocked out. He just beat Pacquiao after 5 years. And we're condemning a man who's given us 19 years of history and proven the doubters wrong. But Triple G is being praised, which is good. I don't have a problem with that. But it's being praised to a level where you break down his resume, and for whatever reason, whether they're ducking him or not, he hasn't fought the people that would show us the most about what he's made of. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. That's what it is. Next question is from Noel Gill. Why do people think Triple G is some world beater when he hasn't fought any career-defining fight yet at age 33 going on 34? It's silly to me. They ready and willing to see a smaller Cotto or Canelo fight right away, knowing that Triple G is the favorite to win both those matchups. But as soon as people say Ward or hint to move up and fight the top guys at 168, all of a sudden that's off limits for Triple G. But the same people would be calling for Floyd to move up and fight Triple G. The double standard is ridiculous, for real. Manny moved up, Cotto moved up, Floyd moved up, Sergio moved up. The list goes on. But the excuse for Triple G or Team Triple G is the unifying deal. What happens after that? Fan of Triple G, but I don't buy the hype. I want to see this guy tested with adversity. All of the other guys I mentioned has proven it. Why not the so-called world beater Triple G? Great reply. It's kind of goes exactly with what I'm saying. Triple G is a great fighter, but this is a guy who touched down in America maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago, and he's looked spectacular against that opposition. But he's like, you can't play it both ways. You're saying, your whole team is saying you're being ducked and avoided. So you're basically admitting that you haven't fought the top guys because you're being avoided and ducked. And I get that. That's cool. They're avoiding. And in a lot of those cases, I do think those guys don't really want no issue with Triple G. However, you're still admitting that you have not fought the top guys for any reason, for whatever reason. So do I think it's right for Triple G to have to move up to fight Ward or have to move up to 160? No, I don't think it's right. But again, like I said earlier, you got to do what's right with your career. Same situation with Sergio Martinez. After he stretched Paul Williams and knocked him out, people at 154 didn't want Sergio Martinez. I don't know if you guys were watching boxing back then, but after that Paul Williams knockout, people did not want to fight Sergio Martinez. He was an avoided dude. This was before people knew about Triple G by and large in the States. So Sergio Martinez was in that same position. They're like, oh shit, do you see how he dropped Paul Williams and knocked him out? Crazy. And people didn't want him. What did Sergio Martinez did? He went up to the next weight division, and you know what I mean, he actually racked up some victories. Beat Chavez Jr., beat Darren Barker, beat Matthew Macklin, and you know what I'm saying, he spent some time up there. He beat Martin Murray, even though I thought he lost that fight. Either way, he still moved up because he wasn't getting the fights with Mayweather and Pacquiao. He wasn't getting the fights at 154 with the other people campaigning. So the natural progression for his career was to move up. So again, I'm not saying Triple G, Team Triple G has to move up, but if you're not getting whatever you want, what are you going to just keep fighting limited competition, racking up victories? That's not going to help you go down as the greatest middleweight either. So the double standards are there. Like I've been saying, Triple G is a great fighter. A lot of people, again, his style brings a lot of casual fans, and they never really followed his career nor anyone else in the sport, and they become experts all of a sudden. I could tell you about Triple G nuances. I could tell you about his past fights. I follow the guy. I study the guy. I put people up on Triple G when he wasn't as big as what he's getting right now. So I agree with you. Manny, Cotto, all these dudes, like, why are we condemning Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather, Cotto, and guys who have showed you their worth year after year? Guys like Marquez, they're at the tail ends of their career. We know exactly what they're supposed to do. Now, the only person on the hot seat that I do put on there is Cotto, just because he's holding on to hardware in that division. So as a champion, you got to do something. Mayweather became he had all these belts, and he said he was relinquishing the belts after the Pacquiao win. That's what Cotto needs to do. If he doesn't want to fight middleweights, don't do catchweights and all this shit. Just fight guys at 154. That's cool. But the longer you hold on, the longer you're gonna have the bullseye on your back. But again, it's not right to overly criticize certain guys with, you know what I mean, like Mayweather, 19 years of history in the sport of proving people wrong and winning and beating former champions, current champions, etc. Yet they overly praise people who still on their resume they haven't proven what we need. I think Triple G versus Carl Froch is another good fight because this is a guy. Froch has power and he's tough. I've seen him knock down and get back up and win that fight, like in the George Groves fight. You know what I mean? Or losing to Darrell and then coming back strong. You know what I mean? So I got to see Triple G in there with a top caliber guy who's not going to mentally fold. And then if he beats that person, we could say he's arrived. But it's right now, it's just like he's just doing good for his competition level. Next question from Kyle Bain. Any updates on what the hell is going on with Mikey Garcia? Now, I don't know what's going on with Mikey Garcia. I talked to Robert Garcia and his team a couple months ago, and it was just basically surface area. They say he's kind of in and out of the gym, trying to stay active. He's doing the legal lawsuit stuff. I don't know. So I really couldn't tell you where Mikey Garcia is. I see him attending some of the fights, but I have no word on when he'll be coming back to the sport. So it's unfortunate because his career was starting to take off and he was racking up some impressive victories. And then all of a sudden, his career, the e-brake was pulled up and we haven't seen much. So hopefully he comes back. I like Mikey Garcia, enjoy watching him. So hopefully he does come back soon. I'm just, at the moment, I haven't heard anything. Next question comes from Estasado Dextero. What up, Ego? Thanks for the videos. Keep up the good work. Here's a question. If I'm not mistaken, Laura's fighting on June 12th on Spike, Boxing Sphere on YouTube 2 weeks ago. Do you know who he's going to fight on his Twitter page? Delvin something. I don't know who the fuck that is. I'm going to check it out. Can you break the whole thing down, please? Thanks for taking the time to school some of us. Duh. And keep laughing. You already know. Peace. ERISLANDY Laura will be facing Delvin Rodriguez. I did a video about the top mismatches for the first quarter of 2015. That fight is absolutely on it. Not a fight I'm interested in. I don't like it. I think it does nothing for Laura's stock. I would pick Laura to win pretty easily. I just don't rate Delvin Rodriguez as an elite 154 pounder. So to me, after fighting Ishe Smith and Canelo, it's a backtrack to fight a guy like Delvin Rodriguez, who lost to Austin Trout. Cotto lost 2 times in a row to Floyd Mayweather, then to Austin Trout, and his comeback fight was against Delvin Rodriguez, and Cotto stopped him in 3 rounds. And I think his last fight, Delvin Rodriguez might have got a draw or something weird. So I'm not anxious for that fight at all, but that's who we will be facing, Delvin Rodriguez. And again, I'm just not a fan of the fight. I think some people have this idea that Laura is a boring style fighter. I just don't see a Delvin Rodriguez bringing the best out of Laura to the point where it'll impress people. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather see a Vanes Martirosyan rematch to clear that up personally. So that's who we will be facing. Next question, my ninja DJ Ibril. Ego, who do you think are the most overrated fighters right now? By the way, the Triple G impression is hilarious. Thank you. Now, I don't really like to use the word overrated because I don't know who's saying what, and there's only select channels and like articles that I read, so I don't know who's rating people what. I just know kind of what I know. So I don't really like that term, but when I think of the term overrated, I really think of guys who are talked about a lot, have a good fan base, and they're basically hyped up and geared up, and the public, they're trying to sell the public this person, and they're not living up to that potential. So the person that really comes up to mind is Leo Santa Cruz. And I've been a longtime fan of Leo Santa Cruz, but if you really boil down his career, it's really as he started getting better in competition, it all of a sudden halted and all of a sudden stopped. So I would definitely say Leo Santa Cruz is the person that's really not living up to the potential of the buzz that he was once getting. You look at it, anyone else I could think of. Look at Canelo. Okay, he lost to Mayweather, but he does have wins over Laura and over James Kirkland and Austin Trout. So you can't really say he's overrated like you could say to Leo Santa Cruz. You look at Adrian Broner. He fought Marcos Maidana, lost bad, but at the same time, he still went the distance. This was his second fight at welterweight, right? And he went the distance. So he did show heart in that particular fight. And Maidana stopped other people. Everyone, Jesus Soto Caraz, Josecito Lopez, he stopped all those guys right before Broner. So the fact that Broner even went the distance shows you something about him. So, I mean, the other people that I hear the coin term overrated, you could say they still have done more than Leo Santa Cruz. You look at Gary Russell Jr. He stepped up to Vasyl Lomachenko, lost. Before that, he was fighting tomato cans, but now he's back on track because he's now a WBC champion after defeating the defending champion, Johnny Gonzalez, who knocked out Abner Matas and defended his title, and Gary Russell Jr. Was able to stop him impressively. So it's like every person that I hear is overrated. The person that I like, you can always make an argument for them because they've done something in their career. For Leo Santa Cruz, in my opinion, I have yet to see him in there with the best competition in or around his division. You look at his division, Guillermo Rigondeaux, Carl Frampton, Scott Quigg, even a guy like Nonito Donaire, a guy like Kiko Martinez would show me something, and he ain't fought none of those type of people. Or even the guys above, Abner Matas, Nicholas Walters, Vasyl Lomachenko. So to me, Leo Santa Cruz has a lot more to prove because he's a champion. And out of all the people I could think of, like people said, oh, Deontay Wilder's overrated. But he just beat Bermane Stavern and became a champion. He beat the champion and became a champion. So if you look at all the other people that get called overrated, it's like they've at least, some people say, oh, Cotto's overrated. Cotto's been in the game a while with signature wins over Mosley, and he beat Clottey, and you know what I'm saying? He has his resume is too deep. So no matter when you compare other people to Leo Santa Cruz, I feel like most of those other guys have done a bit more. They fought like champions. Even if they lost, they still fought the champions. I haven't yet to see Leo Santa Cruz fight the competition that I want to see him fight. Next question is from 888 Compact. What would you do if you were in De La Hoya's situation right now? De La Hoya, I've made videos about this. He's in a tight spot just because you got Al Heyman doing his thing, and Golden Boy, they don't have as much star power involved in their fights as they once did. Oscar De La Hoya is a former fighter, so if I was in his position, then I would do what a fighter does and battle back. I mean, that's the only thing you can do. You can either get knocked out or you can bite down, weather the storm, and fight back. So that's what I would do if I was in Oscar De La Hoya's situation. Regroup, make sure you have the right team around you, and like really analyze what you can do to improve business. Put on good matches like Lucas Matisse, Ruslan Provodnikov, the best possible fights with the best possible. I would go hire people or do it myself for talent scouting and scout some of the up-and-coming talents and snatch them up quick and start working on their image and building them up just like you build up Canelo and a lot of other stars that were working with Golden Boy. So that's what I would do. I would fight back. And the last question is from Justin Davis. Boxing Ego, hey man, is there still a possibility for a Mayweather-Matisse fight, and would you like that? I'd be okay with it. I mean, everyone else is busy or fasting, but if Floyd decides to let the fans vote for his next opponent, then it would most likely be Golovkin at 154. I've already explained the Mayweather-Golovkin. I mean, Floyd's his own boss. I doubt he's going to do any more polls and stuff for his last fight. I personally don't want to see Matisse versus Mayweather. A couple years ago, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. But the thing is, I've seen Lucas Matisse get outboxed by people in his division. So to see him move up 7 more pounds it doesn't really interest me. I think he would probably get outboxed in the Mayweather fight. Yes, he's a power puncher, but you got to look at it. Lucas Batiste versus Ruslan Provodnikov. This is a guy in your face, coming straight forward. His defense is his head versus Mayweather, who's cat-like. He's crafty, slippery, in and out. And you just seen Mayweather make a tricky, awkward southpaw with power and more speed than Lucas Matisse throw 81 punches. So to see Matisse move up in weight 7 pounds, I just I really don't see what that really does for Mayweather. It's not really, like I said, Matisse, whether you agree with him or not, he lost to Devin Alexander and Zab Judah. Zab Judah, I think that's a rightful one. It was close, but he started out very slow in that fight, so that's not as controversial. I think he beat Devin Alexander, and he got robbed because it happened in St. Louis in Devin Alexander's hometown. That's my personal opinion. But on paper, he still lost to both of those guys, and he didn't stop those guys. So that's one thing. Then Danny Garcia, much slower, good counterpuncher, much slower than a guy like Mayweather, shorter arms, slower, more flat-footed, and Danny Garcia was able to have his way with him versus a guy like Mayweather, who's just, again, veteran, 19 years in the game, crafty. Plus, Mayweather has fought bigger guys. Like, would you say Matisse cracks harder than Canelo at 152 when rehydrated to 160 something? You know what I mean? Or do you think Canelo has more power at that weight? So I would say Canelo hits harder than Matisse, and we've already seen that. Does Lucas Matisse crack harder than Marcos Maidana weighing 168? Who knows? Maybe. It might be close. But again, it's a different fight. Maidana's a pressure fighter. Lucas Matisse more of a boxer puncher. So, I mean, I just really personally don't have interest. I think a better matchup would be Pacquiao versus Matisse because their styles, if you were to mesh those, that would be make for a good fight. Plus, Pacquiao's entertained the idea of fighting in lower divisions by fighting at 144 versus Chris Algieri. I just think the move up for a Matisse fight, it's just not a good style matchup for him, basically. So let me know how you think I did this week, Monday Mail Day. Drop me a comment. Make sure you like my video. As always, hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.